Hello everyone, this is Rabbi Wagshol teaching you Mishnayot Shabbat, the Mishnah that teaches us about the laws of Shabbat. To learn Mishnayot Shabbat, the way we're going to do it is we're going to teach you Mishnah concepts. These Mishnah concepts will help us understand the halachot we're studying. To understand the first Mishnah in Shabbat, we need to know two Mishnah concepts. First of all, we need to know that on Shabbat we are forbidden by the Torah to transfer an object from a public area to a private area. I'm going to show you on the next slide what is a public area and what is a private area. The second Mishnah concept you're going to need to know is that in order to be guilty of transferring the object, you have to do two things. One is called in Hebrew akira, that means pick it up and bring it out to the public area or bring it into the private area. And B is called hanacha. Hanacha means to put it down, not just anywhere, but to put it down in the other location. Like if you're in a private area, you put it down in a public area, or if you're in the public area, you put it down in the private area. Now, what happens if someone says, okay, I don't want to be guilty of breaking Shabbat, so I'm going to just do half. I'm just going to pick it up and have someone else put it down. Or I'll put it down and someone else will give it to me. That is not allowed midrabanan. That means our rabbis forbid you to do that. It's forbidden to do that on Shabbat. If you did do that by mistake, you will not have to bring a karban chatat, a sin offering, in the Bet HaMikdash when we have a Bet HaMikdash. However, one should still not do that. So, in the Mishnah, whenever it says the word patur, not guilty, it means you're not guilty, but you would still not be allowed by the rabbis to do it. If it says chayav, guilty, it means that he has to bring a sin offering. So before we start the Mishnah, let's take a look at this picture over here. Here on the bottom of page 7, we have a picture of the two areas where you're not allowed to carry from one to the other. The first area is called Reshut HaRabim. Rabim means public. Reshut is a domain, it's a area that the public can walk in. The second one is Reshut HaYachid, a private area, such as a house, a yard that's fenced around the house. Now we're going to learn more details later on in the Masechet about the sizes of public areas and private areas. But for right now, all we need to know that you can't take an object from the Reshut HaYachid, your house, and bring it to the Reshut HaRabim, the public road, or the opposite. You can't bring it from the Reshut HaRabim, the public area, into the Reshut HaYachid, the house or the yard. Now we're going to understand this Mishnah a lot better. Because the Mishnah is going to give us a whole bunch of cases, but once we know the principle, we're going to understand. So, I'm going to start reading the Mishnah, and as you follow along with me, I will ask you to stop and think what you think the law is. Remember, if someone did A and B, picked it up and put it down, they're guilty of a sin offering. If somebody did only half, they only picked it up or only put it down, they're not guilty of a sin offering, but they still shouldn't do it. Let's start the Mishnah. Yitziyot HaShabbat. Ways to be guilty of transferring an object on Shabbat. Shtayim. There are two ways to be guilty, meaning to have to bring a sin offering. Shehein arba, which can be divided up into 4 separate acts. Bifnim, if a person is inside the house or inside the yard. So if you're standing in a yard, you can be guilty in 2 ways, which is basically 4 acts. Because remember, you have to do 2 acts to be guilty. So 2 ways to be guilty is really 2 acts each, which equals 4. 2 times 2 is 4, right? Ushtayim, and there's 2 ways to be guilty. which could be divided up, shehein arba, into 4, bachutz, if you're standing in the street. How does this work? We will see. Ketzad. How does this work? Ha'ani omed bachutz. If someone is standing outside, ubal habayit bifnim, and the owner of a house, like this fellow over here, is standing inside. Pashat ha'ani et yado lifnim. If the poor man sticks out his hand inside, v'natan letoch yado shel bal habayit, and he gives his basket to the Baal Habayit. Maybe he wants the Baal Habayit to give him some food for Shabbat. O shanatal mitocha vehotzi, or the poor man took the basket full of food from the hands of the Baal Habayit, that which was inside the house, and he brought it outside the house. So the Mishnah has just listed for us 2 ways that a person standing in the street can be guilty of breaking Shabbat by transferring an object. Either you stick your hand inside and put it down, or you take it from the person inside and bring it out. Now let's think. If this person did this, would they be guilty of bringing a sin offering? Think a second if it meets the 2 conditions to be guilty. If you said guilty, you are right, because the poor man picked up the basket from the public area, that's A, and B, put it down in the hands of the Baal Habayit, that's B, putting down, or in the reverse, he took a basket he picked it up from the Baal Habayit's hands and then put it down when he brought it out into the public road. So this poor man would have to bring a sin offering. The Mishnah continues. What happens if the same thing happened? This time, however, it was the opposite. It was the person standing inside. Pashat bal habayit et yado lachutz. If the owner of the house took his hand and stuck his hand outside holding some bread, v'natan letoch yado shalani, and he placed the bread that he stuck out of the house into the empty hands of the waiting poor man. Or shenatal mitocha v'hichnis, or the poor man had something in his hands and the owner of the house took it out and brought it in. What is the law? If you said the owner of the house is totally guilty of bringing a sin offering, then you are right, because he did both picking up and putting down all by himself. The poor man just stood there with empty hands, not doing anything. And now the Mishnah continues. Pashat ha'ani et yado lifnim. What happens if the poor man put his hands inside, v'natal bal habayit mitocha, and the poor man's hands, there was an object like a basket, but the poor man didn't put it down. The Baal Habayit actually took it from his hand. Or, says the Mishnah, O shenatan letocha, or the Baal Habayit took the object, so the Baal Habayit gives the object into the hands of the poor man, but the poor man takes it out of his house. What is the law here? Did any of them do A and B? Did any of them do Akira and Hanacha, both picking up and putting down? The answer is that neither one of them did the full melacha, did the full job. Neither one of them broke Shabbat to bring a sin offering, because each of them either picked it up and the other put it down, or he picked it up and the other put it down. So it says the Mishnah, Shnehem Peturin, both of them are not guilty, they don't have to bring a sin offering, but of course, as I told you earlier, they're still not allowed to do that. Says the Mishnah, one last case, Pashat bal habayit et yado lachutz, if the owner of the house stuck his hand outside, V'natala ani mitocha. And the poor man took the bread from the balabayit's hand and put it down in his basket. So the balabayit picked up the bread and put it outside, but he didn't put it down. The poor man took it from his hand and put it down. O shenatan letocha, or the balabayit's hand was outside. The poor man put it from outside into his hand, but he didn't put it down. The balabayit brought it inside of his house and put it down. Again, shnehem piturin, they're both not guilty of a sin offering, since each one did half. Now you guys understand what the Mishnah meant when it said 2, which equal 4 if you're standing outside. What the Mishnah meant was, if you're standing in the street, you can either do it a transfer twice in 2 ways. You can pick something up and put it down yourself, or you can take something out and put it down yourself. That's 2 ways to be guilty. Or you can divide it up with having someone else helping you transfer, so that each of those 2 ways turns into 4, meaning dividing each act of transfer into picking up and putting down. So, since we're not allowed to do these things on Shabbat, we can relax and spend our time davening to Hashem and learning Torah and not worrying about making deliveries on Shabbat or transferring objects, and have a restful Shabbat.